I hope you guys don't mind. We're going to record it, but I keep it private under YouTube and only disseminate it really to somebody who really wants to see it, maybe miss something. And Dr. Gapin's fine with that too. So, Dr. Gapin, who's the speaker. Yeah. Oh, you're a urologist. Huh?
Yeah.
Let's see the time. What time is it? Oh, 1:58. Okay. Hey, how are you? Good. We just stick your name on it. Yes. We did a little thing going.
That's where I can mute it.
I see Arno trying to get on. I don't know that you're here yet, Arno.
We'll be in a minute.
There you are.
Yeah, how are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yes. Staying healthy, I'm sure.
Yes, yeah, had a good report here, not last week. But this particular discussion will be very timely because most of the, or a good part of my meeting with the doctor last week was in regards to testosterone. So
Yep.
maybe perhaps I'll learn something here today, how to bring it up. It's still a bit on the low side.
Okay.
So maybe he can give me some guidance how to bring it up.
Yeah, Dr. Gapin is just about joining us, I see. Good day, sir.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good.
Good.
to see you. Well, we're right about 2 o'clock, I think. Yeah, right on the nose at 2 o'clock. And as you know, I like to get these things started on time, so people get used to that happening. So today's special guest, really special in a lot of ways for me, but I think special for all of us, is Dr. Tracy Gapin, who for 30 plus years was a practicing and very prominent urologist here in Sarasota, and decided a couple of years ago to branch out into a new field of endeavor, which I'll let him explain a little bit more to you. I will tell you that in advance, and he'll talk about this too, but I've got his book here, which is a fascinating read for any of us, really. I encourage you to do so, and I'll make sure you get copies, or he will, one way or the other. So, but without going further into his background, let me just introduce him and welcome the guys that are here. I did want to mention that last Thursday we had a terrific meeting. On Thursday nights, we took over the US2 group, which has met at Doctors Hospital for many years, but had gone through a relapse when COVID-19 hit us, and as a result, had stopped operating altogether for a couple of years. So we've been trying to resurrect it, and it's been a slow process, but we last week had, I think, 6 of us in a meeting, and it was one of the most stimulating meetings I've been at for many, many years. It was just, I think it was stimulating because each of the guys who attended the meeting contributed so much to that meeting, and we were all at different stages of where we are in our cancer travels. 2 or 3 of the guys were in what we call watchful waiting, or I like to call aggressive surveillance. So there were lots of questions about how to deal with that. And others were involved with hormone therapy. So we had extremes from both sides of the table. But the key thing was that people were willing to ask questions, were more than willing to listen to each other, and made a lot out of that meeting. So I just encourage you to think about that as we go forward today and at future meetings as well, because that really is what makes these meetings work. And certainly Dr. Gapin has been a great contributor over the years to our meetings. And I should add a personal note that he was also my urologist, and I credit him with keeping me alive to this day. So he gets credit for that, if you want to give credit for that. But at least I am here. In any event, Dr. Tracy Gapin, welcome aboard.
Dave, hey, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. I consider you a dear friend of mine, and I'm always happy to contribute to this amazing organization. And I just want to thank you for all the work you do for the group, and thank you for the chance to speak with the gentleman here. Some of you may or may not know me, but I'm a board certified urologist. I spent 24 years in traditional urology before I stepped away to have a bigger impact. And so during that time, prostate cancer surveillance, detection, and minimally invasive treatment was really a passion of mine. Focused on minimally invasive detection and treatment and robotic surgery and everything around prostate cancer was really near and dear to my heart. So I'm always happy to contribute to this prostate cancer support group in any way I can. Today I want to share with you guys, and let me see if I can. Dave, while I speak, if you can see if you can enable me to share screen, I have some slides that I can show that may help just support my message today.
I'll figure that out within seconds, I think. Let's see, share screen. Well, I need to make you co-host is what I need to do.
That's fine. Yeah, even doing that would work. That's fine.
Let's see. Make co-host.
So in the meantime, I'll tell you, the gentleman here, I'll go ahead and get started in the meantime. So after many years in urology, I became very disillusioned with traditional healthcare. As good a job as we do with treating prostate cancer, treating disease, treating illness, I became very frustrated myself, and I have my own health issues. And so that really got me on the path that I'm on now. So that's really how things changed for me. And so I want to share just a little bit of that story to help give you some perspective on why the heck is a medical doctor here talking about stuff that has nothing to do with prostate cancer. And I'm hoping by the end of my short little presentation here, it'll make more sense to you. So let me just pull up my imagery, and we'll hopefully get started.
Should be working, I think.
There we go. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Everyone see my screen okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Cool. So I launched the Gapin Dec for High Performance Health. And to me, high performance health is what it's all about. It's about elevating your life, your health to the next level. And that's really become a passion of mine. I truly believe that the success that you gentlemen achieve in every area of your life starts and ends with your health. And we're not just talking about treating disease. We're talking about how can we optimize every part of your health. So I want to share a little bit of the story of how I got here to explain why I'm sharing such different messaging with you than you're used to hearing as a prostate cancer support group. I spent, as I mentioned, 20 plus years as a urologist, operating, saving lives every day while neglecting my own. And I neglected my health so much that it finally caught up with me. I woke up one day and I'm 30 pounds overweight. I have belly fat, body aches, brain fog, and felt like crap. And so I went to a local concierge doc here in town to turn things around. The pivotal moment for me in both my professional career and in my life was when I found that our healthcare system really isn't made for that. Because this concierge doctor, all he could really tell me was, yeah, Tracy, you need to lose weight, you need to eat more vegetables, exercise, and if you don't get better, we may put you on a statin. And that was it. That was all I got. And I suddenly became aware that we have this passive reactive approach to health, and it's failing. It's focused on treating disease or illness or symptoms like prostate cancer when it occurs. Otherwise, we don't really have much for you. We talk about no evidence of disease, or NED has become a term of success. That just means you're neutral, you're baseline, you're free of disease. It has nothing to do with how do we optimize you and your body and your physiology to be the best that it can be. And so I knew that this had to change. Men have this perspective that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, we wonder why we have no energy. We wonder why we can't lose weight. We wonder why we can't perform like we used to. But we passively wait until we're sick before we do anything about it. And so I decided to do something about this. So while still running a busy urology practice, this was about 8-10 years ago, I went back to school and I started studying genetics and personalized precision medicine, regenerative medicine, human performance, longevity. And when I combined and applied all of these new concepts I was learning on myself, everything changed. I lost weight. I regained my energy, my focus, my productivity. Started chasing my wife again at home. Turned my health around. I really turned my life around at that time. I started implementing this same approach with my patients as well. And they started telling me how they were having amazing results too. They told me how they felt younger and stronger, more alive, more focused. I knew that I was onto something. And I knew, more importantly, that I had found my true purpose and passion. I published 2 best-selling books, Male 2.0 and Codes of Longevity. In fact, here is a way to get a free copy. If you want to text the word help to 26786, or you can easily, guys at home, scan the QR code if you'd like. Again, text the word help to 26786. I'm going to share with you my secret to high performance health and a complimentary digital copy of my best-selling book that Dave is talking about there called Male 2.0. So shortly after I published this book, I decided it was time to really have a bigger impact. And so I stepped away from Florida urology specialist here in Sarasota, and I launched the Gapin Institute so I can have a bigger impact and really transform the way we think about men's health. I created a G1 program, which is a high-level program helping executives and high-performing men have more energy, lose weight, have better sex. Because we all want that, right? That's what life is all about. The key here is it's not enough to just treat prostate cancer. Yes, we got to get rid of the disease, no question about it. But what I struggled with for many years in urology was how do we balance treatment of cancer while still maintaining quality of life? Because if you don't have quality of life, what do you have, right? That's what it's all about. And so that's why I created the Gapin Institute for High Performance Health. And that's really a passion of mine to help you guys really have a better quality of life and be your absolute best again. So think about this. We all have goals, right? Why do you think so many of us don't achieve the goals of the success we're looking for? Well, I've come to really recognize after 20 plus years working with high performers like each of you, that the most common reason is blind spots in your health are holding you back. They're getting in your way. Issues that are causing low energy and brain fog, loss of focus, lack of efficiency. A lot of times you don't even realize, you think you're doing fine, but your body and brain aren't even close to operating at their highest level. Let me give you an example. Who here knows who Bob Harper is? Anyone know Bob Harper here in the group? Yeah, I don't know. Bob Harper, you don't know, he was the lead trainer. He's the fitness trainer for My Biggest Loser.
Right.
Earlier this year, he had a heart attack and almost died.
Right.
Bob Harper's 51 years old, guys, and he almost died of a heart attack. He thought he was doing fine, right? This is a quote from Bob Harper that I think is so important. I didn't think it could happen to me. I'm a guy who lives a very healthy lifestyle, but there were things going on inside my body that I need to be more aware of. This is the key. You want to be more successful, you want to make more money, you want to have better sex, do all the fun things in life. You got to pay attention. You got to find the hidden blind spots that are holding you back or that you don't even recognize are there. Because I've discovered that we're experiencing a men's health crisis, and it's shocking. Guys, testosterone levels have plummeted. Get this, free testosterone is down 50% over the last 30 years. Free testosterone is half of what it was. That means that for a lot of you, your grandfather had a higher testosterone level than you did. And this isn't just about sex, not just about building muscle. Testosterone is critically important for energy, cognitive function, cardiovascular health. Studies show that men with low testosterone have an increased risk, 30% increased risk of having a major adverse cardiac event. Low testosterone is clearly associated with increased risk of cardiovascular disease. And believe it or not, low testosterone has been associated with the increased risk of prostate cancer. Opposite of what you've been told. Opposite of what the public is led to believe. Low testosterone increases your risk of prostate cancer. Very counterintuitive. Recent studies show that lifespan is decreasing. For the first time in decades, guys, we're dying younger. And this, to me, is my passion. This is what high performance health is all about. It's about optimizing your health so you can perform at the highest level. It's not just about simply being successful. We're all successful. It's not about being stronger or faster or smarter. It's about elevating your game so you can function at the highest level, a state of excellence, where you operate with your full potential, with unparalleled purpose and power and productivity, I like to say. It's truly about being your absolute best again. And that's my passion with the Gapin Institute. So with that being said, let's get to the three main tenets, if you will, of high performance health, the three keys you need to know to achieve high performance in your life. The first, you've all heard of the phrase one size fits all. Well, I believe that one size fails all. What I mean by this is there is this common misperception that we all should be doing the same thing, that we all need to be doing the keto diet. We all need to be doing a low carb diet. We all need to be running on a treadmill every day for 30 minutes. We all need to be taking this magic supplement, doing this magic workout program. The key is, gentlemen, that we're all different. We're all unique, and our genetics dictates what's right for us. So let me give you an example. The PLIN1 gene, this is a gene that regulates how your body processes carbohydrates. We've all heard that, low carb is better and keto diet is the way to go. Well, for some men, if you want to have better energy, better cognitive function, lose weight, and actually reduce cardiovascular risk, you're going to do better with higher complex carbs. Opposite of what you might think, right? And I'm not talking about pizza and cupcakes and donuts. I'm not talking about sugar, refined sugar carbs. I'm talking about complex carbs, sweet potatoes, broccoli, quinoa, etc., the healthy carbs. So what works for one man doesn't work for the next. Another example, ApoE gene. This gene is responsible for how our bodies process saturated fat. Men who have a variant of the ApoE gene called ApoE4, those men have markedly increased risk of obesity, cardiovascular disease, insulin resistance, cognitive decline, Alzheimer's disease with saturated fat intake. Well, where do you find saturated fat? Red meat, dairy, eggs, milk, cheese, hamburgers, steaks. That's keto. That's carnivore. A lot of people will tell you that's the best diet for you. But in fact, it depends on your genetics. And in fact, if you're an ApoE4 variant, you don't want to be eating high saturated fats. You have to limit it to under 5% of your caloric intake. And so this is what I mean by one size fails all. Exercise, genetics help us understand what workout program is going to be better for you. For some men, strength training is more impactful, whereas others, it may be interval training, burst exercises, sprinting, for example, or Tabata, you may have heard of, over endurance training. Understanding this helps us know how to create a plan for you and your life that's going to give you the best outcome so you're not going blind and so that you're making decisions that are right for your body. We have genetics related to supplementation. For some men, you need higher levels of vitamin D, for example, because your vitamin D receptor isn't programmed to work as well. Other men, vitamin A cannot get absorbed through dietary beta carotene, and you need a specific type of supplementation for that. Other men, you can't clear toxins from your environment as well as others, and so you need to be really careful and turn on or upregulate certain detox pathways to help you clear those toxins. This is what I mean by one size fails all. We need to take an individualized approach. And the Gapin Institute and the G1 program that I've created, that's exactly what we do. We help you understand, based on your genetics, what exactly do you need to do to take your health to the next level so that you can have more energy, lose weight, and have better sex. Next, know your numbers. What do I mean by this? Well, we all have KPIs or key performance indicators for our business. You need metrics for your health, where you focus on the numbers that matter, the ones that are going to move the needle, the ones that are going to actually make a difference, really, so you can keep score and know if what you're doing is actually working. So, for example, lab work. I want you to write this down. Free testosterone, you want around 200. Now, I want to clarify for this community specifically, if you have been on androgen deprivation therapy, castration medical therapy, this does not apply to you. We do not want to ever artificially raise your testosterone level. Okay. We don't want to, studies show that it's safe for most men, but the one caveat, the one asterisk I'll give is if you've been on castration therapy, you don't want to do anything to artificially raise your testosterone. Okay. But in general, every other man, free testosterone should be around 200. There have been amazing published studies that have shown unequivocally that testosterone does not cause prostate cancer. I want to repeat that for this community. Testosterone does not cause prostate cancer. There have been studies looking at men who have been treated either with surgery or radiation, and they had low testosterone, they were given therapy, and their recurrence rate did not change. The incidence of recurrent prostate cancer was identical in men who were not given testosterone therapy. Then they looked at men who had no cancer and needed testosterone. They gave them testosterone and found no increased incidence of developing prostate cancer. Then they did studies looking at men who had prostate cancer untreated, men on active surveillance, low-grade prostate cancer on active surveillance who had low testosterone. They were given testosterone therapy. And what do you think happened to their incidence of progression of disease? Didn't change. The progression rate for men who were given testosterone did not change over the placebo group. And so we know that testosterone does not cause prostate cancer, doesn't cause progression of disease or recurrence. But in fact, testosterone is vitally important for cognitive function, for you to think clearly, for you to have energy, for bone health, for muscle health, for cardiovascular health, for metabolism, for energy, for weight loss, and sex. It's such a critically important part of your health. So free testosterone, we want it to be 200. Thyroid, free T3, write this down. You guys want free T3 of 4.0. So often men struggle with low thyroid and their doctors are checking the wrong labs. We want to look at free T3 and we want that to be 4.0. We want to look at fasting insulin. This is a great marker for how your body processes blood sugar. Insulin sensitivity we're looking at here. We want a fasting insulin that's very low, preferably under 5. Vitamin D, key hormones, not a vitamin, it's actually a hormone. Vitamin D, you want that between 60 and 80. DHEA, another key hormone, you want DHEA levels at least 200. These are key markers that we want to look at when it comes to your health. ApoB is probably the most impactful lab marker when it comes to cardiovascular risk, cardiovascular disease risk. And most doctors don't even check this. It's insane. ApoB should be under 80. LDL particle count. We don't care about LDL, we care about LDL-P, which means the LDL particle count, not the concentration that most doctors check. Total cholesterol, LDL, HDL. You want to look at LDL particle count, and that should be under 1,000. These are key biomarkers that are critically important, and they may be blind spots holding you back. CRP is a great marker of inflammation. You want that to be under 1.0. I would actually prefer it to be under 0.5. Finally, we want to look at things like microbiome. Microbiome is looking at the bacteria in your gut, because we know that the microbiome is so important when it comes to our health. It causes issues with food sensitivities, which causes brain fog and weight gain, cognitive decline, etc. I'll give you an example of how powerful this is. One of my patients here, his name is Marco. He's a professional race car driver. He came to me because he couldn't think clearly. He said, Doc, I'm on the racetrack and I can't make decisions quickly enough. And I feel like there's something wrong with my mind. Like it's not working like it used to. So one of the key things we found was he had some microbiome issues. And along with that, food sensitivity to 2 things, bananas and coffee were the 2 big food sensitivities we found. Guess what Marco had for breakfast every single day? Bananas and coffee. Once he stopped those 2 foods and we fixed some other hormone issues, it was like a light switch. Everything changed. And so that's what it's all about, is finding out blind spots holding you back. And that's why labs are so incredibly important. Other numbers we look at, are body metrics. What do I mean by this? I mean body composition. So many men are focused on their weight. And I'm here to tell you guys that your weight does not matter. Weight does not matter. What matters is lean muscle mass, visceral fat, body water. Body composition is the key. And the only way you know that's to measure it, to track it. We want to look at things like resting heart rate. Resting heart rate is a great marker of your cardiovascular health. We want that to be under 60. Heart rate variability is another great marker that we can track with a wearable device. Like I use Garmin. My Garmin's charging right now. Here it is charging. The Aura Ring is great for this as well. I use a Polar H10. It's a chest strap that you can put on every morning to measure HRV, or heart rate variability. This is a direct indicator of your physiologic recovery state. Stress of your overall health and fitness. And so tracking heart rate variability is so important. Finally, sleep. How many of you guys struggle with sleep, quality sleep? Raise your hand. Anyone? Anyone? Yeah, most men I work with, if you're over the age of 40, have some sort of issues with sleep. Pretty common problem. And so what we want to do is track quality of sleep, meaning we want to look at the stages of sleep and make sure that you're getting good quality sleep, not just quantity. Sleep is when your body recovers. It's when you build muscle. You think about when you work out and building muscle. No, actually, that's not right. When you're working out or training, lifting weights, you're actually tearing down muscle. And when you sleep is when you're actually repairing and rebuilding, recovering and building muscle. And so that's the key, is you got to get good quality sleep. Tracking is so important. And that's why most of my clients use some sort of device to track sleep quality. Finally, biologic age. Believe it or not, guys, we can actually now track how old you are. And I don't mean chronologically, like how many times you've been around the sun. I'm talking about your biologic age, your physiologic age, which means the actual rate of aging based on your lifestyle, your behavior, your activities. And so like rings of a tree, we can actually measure how old you are and able so that we can see over time that what you're doing is actually working, that you're doing the right things, and that you're actually making a difference. And I'll show you an example in just a moment of how powerful this can be to actually see objective results with what we're doing. This was Emily. She worked with us for about 2 years or so. When she started, she was 40 years old. Her biologic age, her true age was 44, almost 45. This is biologic age. This is done via blood test. Okay, this is looking at methylation, basically marks on your DNA. Right. So she was 44, almost 45 when she came to us. Almost 2 years later, 41.76 chronologic age. She was 6 years younger from the work that we did with her. This is the power of high performance health. That's how you can make a difference and quantify the results that we're getting. We're not just guessing. We're not just saying qualitatively you're feeling better. I can actually prove it with data. And that's what it's all about. Finally, live with purpose. This is where I get a little philosophical, but I really like to emphasize, what is your why? You gentlemen are down to your last 50, 80 years of life, right? You want to make it count. And so often we go through the motions without really focusing on what's important. What's our why? For me, it's my family, my beautiful wife and my little kids. Focusing on that is what it's all about. And I'll give you a story in just a moment that really drives that point home. Your choices matter. You may have heard the phrase epigenetics. Anyone know what epigenetics mean? Anyone here? Yeah, epigenetics is the science of how our lifestyle, our behaviors, our actions, our environment affects our body's performance, affects physiology, affects the way our body works. So I'm going to give you some tips that you can start right here today, some actionable tips that you can start to incorporate in your life, because these choices matter and they pile up. The little things become big things. For example, number one, you got to get rid of plastic water bottles, guys. When you're drinking water, you need to be filtering it and drinking it from a stainless steel water bottle. We know that plastic water bottles, they leach BPA and phthalates, especially into the water. You're drinking it. It crushes hormones. It causes cancer. It causes autoimmune disease. I believe that this is one of the biggest reasons why we're seeing the testosterone pandemic I was talking about earlier, is because of toxins in our environment, specifically plastics, like plastic water bottles. Get yourself a water filter. It could be an under sink filter. It could be on the counter. It needs to be, write this down, a carbon block filter. Carbon block filter is going to filter out endocrine disruptors, which are toxins and chemicals in our water supply that are poisoning you. I like to joke that every one of you guys are on birth control because synthetic estrogen is at incredibly high concentrations in our drinking supply. Our municipal treatment centers cannot filter that estrogen out. And so we're drinking it. And that estrogen binds to our androgen receptors that testosterone is supposed to bind to, and it blocks them. It's crushing testosterone production, and it's blocking the testosterone function at the receptor level. And so quit using plastic water bottles and filter your water. Next is you want to be drinking more water. So many of us struggle with dehydration without even realizing it. You want to focus, get this, guys, a gallon of water a day. That's 4 liters a day. A gallon of water a day should be your goal. So many of us struggle with low energy and weight gain, and it's dramatically related to your hydration status. And so increasing hydration can help you in those areas for sure. Sleep. I mentioned before how important sleep is. Focus on getting good quality sleep. And this starts with creating a schedule, a routine at night. For about 3 hours before you go to bed, you cannot eat anything. Your body needs to be at rest. Your stomach needs to be at rest when you go to bed. You need to turn off electronic devices 2 hours before bedtime. No phones, no iPad, no laptops, no computers. That last hour before bed, you need to be reading, meditating, journaling, or having sex. Those are the 4 things that you should focus on during that last hour before you go to bed. And you need to, most importantly, schedule to go to bed the same time every single night. This matters. Our circadian rhythm is programmed to where it needs to have continuity and consistency. And so going to bed the exact same time every night is going to program your brain and your circadian rhythm to get better quality deep sleep. We want to focus on deep sleep. If you're tracking it, especially with an Aura ring, which is what I would say is the best device to track quality of sleep, you want 1 hour, 60 minutes of deep sleep. That's the Aura ring, O-U-R-A ring. All right. Finally, stress. Stress is killing you guys. So many of us suffer from stress without even realizing it. We have to create time in our life for recovery. Time to balance all the stress and all the activities and all the appointments and meetings and life that's happening. So how many of you meditate? Yeah, I didn't think so. We all need to be creating time, at least 10, 15, 20 minutes a day of meditating. That doesn't mean you have to use any specific tools or devices. It could be just you sitting in a chair with your eyes closed, doing nothing. Create time in your life for relaxation, whether that's a sport, a hobby, going for a walk, something where you're turning off your brain on a regular basis. A study just got published showing nature, exposure to nature is improved with increased longevity. And that's probably because it decreases our stress response. Chronic stress promotes production of cortisol, which is our stress hormone, and that causes weight gain, crushes hormones, crushes our sexual function, crushes our life. And so that's, to me, the big problem with stress. And the way to balance it is to actively create balance in your life. Finally, you got to take charge. As I mentioned at the top, our entire approach to health supports neglect and complacency. So I believe it's no surprise that we all felt guilty to that. We need accountability. We need to take action, take ownership of our health, and be proactive and stop being passive. Stop waiting for disease. Stop waiting for problems. This man's approach to health of if it ain't broke, don't fix it doesn't work. We're failing men. And so you got to take charge. I want to tell you a story that hopefully will make a point for you here. My son, he's 9. He's a competitive golfer. He's this amazing competitive golfer. He's top 10 in the world from the World Championships in Pinehurst in July. Amazing young boy. And I'm lucky enough to be his caddy. Well, we were at a tournament a couple years ago. He was 6. We were at a tournament up in Tampa, and he's on this par 5, second shot on a par 5. Okay. For those of you who don't golf, a par 5 typically takes 3 shots to get to the green, or 2 if you're really good and can hit the ball long. All right. Well, this was his second shot, but there's water in front of the hole. And so as his caddy, I said, Graham, you should probably lay up here, hit a short shot, and then go over the water with your third shot. My son looked at me and said something that I'll never forget. He said, Dad, I didn't come here to lay up. I came here to win. He pulls out his big club, his 5-wood, crushes it over the water on the green, makes a birdie putt, wins that tournament by 1 stroke. The life lesson I learned that day, gentlemen, was you didn't come here to lay up. You came here to win. So take charge of your health, own it, invest in it. To be your absolute best again, you've got to take charge and invest in what matters. This is what high performance health looks like, gentlemen. This is Marco, professional race car driver I mentioned earlier. He said, high performance health changed my racing performance. My mind has never been sharper. This is Andrew. He's a football coach in Bradenton. I've dropped nearly 40 pounds and shredded 5 inches off my waistline and become a healthier man, husband, and father. This is his name is Eric. He was a network marketing expert in Nevada. The guy flies around the world in his private jet. This was data. I talked to you earlier about body composition and how we look at data to really drive results. And what you see here is from January through June, you'll see his data. And his weight went from 220 where we started to 210 in June, which led Eric to say, Doc, this isn't working. I'm not seeing any results. I'm not impressed. I can't keep doing this. You're wasting my time. Well, I said, Eric, hold on a second. Look at the important numbers here. Your fat pounds went from 70 to 46. You lost 23 pounds of fat, 33% of your fat. Your lean muscle mass went from 142 to 156. You gained 13 pounds of lean muscle or lean muscle mass. Visceral fat was down almost 50%. This is why we can't look at weight. Weight doesn't matter. It's key metrics like body fat and lean muscle mass to see results. This is Andrew. He's a wealth advisor here in town. I lost 30 pounds, don't ache every morning. I sleep better. The G1 program took me to a whole new level of high performance at home and at work. That's what it's all about, guys. That's what high performance is. How to work with me. When guys want to work with me now, the way it starts is what I call a high performance health consultation. Guys, this is no longer traditional healthcare. I get to now spend an hour with my clients. Each guy that comes in, I literally spend an hour with you. A little different than the 6 minutes I got to spend with you in my urology days. So high performance health consultation, it's a 1-hour consultation with me, either here in person at the Gapin Institute. I'm over here near University in Honore behind Whole Foods, or we could do it virtually via Zoom, just like we're here today. We're going to spend an hour going through your health challenges, your issues, your lifestyle, blind spots that may be holding you back, and your goals, and hopefully how I can help you get there. And I'll give you some really personalized recommendations on what you can do to achieve high performance health. And if you, at that point, decide you'd like to enroll in one of my programs with me, that consultation fee actually gets rolled into one of the programs. So it's a risk reversal. And in fact, if you're not happy with the consult, if you don't find value in the consultation, I actually don't even charge you. To repeat, if you don't find value in the consultation, guys, I do not even charge you. Okay. As a bonus, I give you my peptide guide, which is an amazing new approach to health where you can use precision guided peptides to achieve really precise outcomes like reducing inflammation and weight loss and sleep and sexual function and cognitive function, et cetera. That's an introduction to peptides. And I'm going to give you a print copy of one of my books called Male 2.0. Again, the digital copy I shared with you earlier, I'll give you a print copy as well. Normally these consoles guys are 400. As a gesture of goodwill to David, anyone here who wants to come in, it's only 250. You can use the QR code on the screen there, and we'll get you booked. Again, 250 for a consultation with me, either in person or virtual. This is the future of health and performance, guys. I love taking care of prostate cancer patients, but now I feel like I can have such a bigger impact and serve so many more men. So again, high performance health consultation, spend an hour with me, find the blind spots holding you back. David, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you gentlemen today. I really appreciate it. And I'm open to any questions you have.
Thank you, Tracy. It was a great presentation. Thank you very much. I'm sure we have questions. I wrote down 10 of them myself, but I'll let the other guys go. Anything at all you guys have in your mind, ask Dr. Gapin. He's got some answers.
Dr. Gapin, I want to know the difference in the free testosterone and the regular testosterone readings that you get from your lab work.
Oh, great question. So to make sure everyone heard, I'm just going to repeat these questions. Everyone can hear it. I hate when you hear these interviews and you can't hear what the question was, so you don't know the answer is for. So the question was, what's the difference between free and total testosterone? So free testosterone is what matters. All right. Total testosterone is relatively insignificant, and I'll explain why. When you're measuring testosterone, it is really measuring the testosterone molecules in the blood, floating around in the bloodstream. All right. There are proteins in the blood that will bind to this small testosterone molecule. And these proteins are big and fluffy, and they attach to the testosterone molecule and don't let go. Well, for testosterone to do its job, to have any biologic effect, it has to get into the cell, brain cell, muscle cell, etc. Get into the cell, get into the nucleus of the cell, and that's where it affects DNA transcription and ultimately has its physiologic effect. If it can't get into the cell, it can't do any of that work. Well, if a testosterone molecule floating around is attached to a big fluffy protein, it cannot get into the cell. It is rendered useless. And so therefore, what's most important is not your total testosterone, but the free testosterone, which means the testosterone count that is able to get into the cell and do its biologic job. And so that's why we care much more about free testosterone than total. And I'll piggyback on that a little bit with the lab results. It's interesting that I mentioned at the beginning that we're seeing studies are showing that testosterone levels have plummeted over the last 20, 30 years. And there was a large study here in the US, large study in Sweden, and one in Finland as well. And all three longitudinal studies that ran from 20 to 30 years in duration, they all showed the exact same finding. And that was that total testosterone is about 30% lower and free testosterone is almost 50% lower than it was 20, 30 years ago. Well, you look at a lab slip and you look at your numbers and you look over on the right and you'll see this range. And if you're in that range, we as medical doctors are told you're the dreaded word, normal. I cannot tell you how much I hate that word normal, because that range on the right side of that lab slip is not the normal, healthy, optimal, or ideal range. Not even close. In fact, what that range is the average. So when you go through LabCorp Quest, they have millions of testosterone labs that they've done, and they simply find the average median number, and they go statistically 2 standard deviations above and below that median, and that's your statistic average, and that's the reference range. This is really important. Knowing that our levels have plummeted over the last 20, 30 years, what do you think that range was 20, 30 years ago? It was twice as high as it is now. It was double. And so that's why that reference range is ridiculous, because it just keeps shifting further and further to the left on that graph as our averages diminish. But that doesn't have anything to do with what you need, what's ideal for your body. And so again, I would aim for a free testosterone of 200. That's going to put you at the top of that range. That's okay, because that reference range is the average.
If I may follow up on that question?
Sure. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. I just had mine testosterone lab work done and had my follow-up with my physician, and I asked the question just about what do these three results or mean. The total testosterone is 185.1. The testosterone percentage free and weekly bound 7.1, and another one, testosterone F and W bound 13.1, which is everything is below the what you just mentioned.
Yeah.
So in a discussion, he felt that 185 is still somewhat on the low side, but he felt obviously everything else is reading low, and that's because I've been on a hormone therapy treatment.
Yeah, and that was the disclaimer I brought up earlier. And you bring up a great point. So when we look at the literature around the safety of testosterone as it relates to prostate cancer, we know that for the average man, the safety numbers are there. The safety data is there. There's no question about it. I feel very comfortable. I have probably 100 men in my practice who have untreated prostate cancer on active surveillance, and they're on testosterone and they're doing fine. No change in anything, no progression of disease, and they live an amazing, great quality of life. Gentlemen like you, unfortunately, where you've had castration therapy, where your testosterone has been turned off, and anything below 800-900 is low. Anything as low as 100 change like yours is really in the tank. You're running on fumes, unfortunately. And this is the tough part of my days in urology, where we would give men castration therapy like what you had to kill the cancer, but then you're killing quality of life as well. And that's where it becomes this real balance, this dancing act of how do we maintain quality of life. And so to answer your question, those numbers are very, very low. But I would say you're not a candidate for testosterone therapy. What you can do is look at natural ways of boosting testosterone on your own. And the things that have been shown to improve testosterone levels are sleep, on improving nutrition, reducing stress, micronutrient support, zinc, magnesium, B vitamins, etc., and sleep and fitness. Exercise. I think I said sleep. I think I might start with sleep and strength training, specifically strength training with weights, specifically focus on the big muscles like your legs and your back. Okay.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You bet. You bet.
You're saying why you're on ADT to take the B vitamins and zinc and all that?
I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time hearing. Say that again, please.
You're saying while you're on ADT, take zinc and the B vitamins, etc.
Yeah. So when we're looking at supporting testosterone production, most men need testosterone therapy, and the benefits dramatically outweigh the risks. Unlike in Arno's case, that's a special situation. But if you're trying to do it naturally, then yeah. So zinc and magnesium, B6, B12 vitamins, a lot of micronutrients like selenium, and if you get a good quality multi, it'll have a lot of that stuff in there as well. And so, yes, that is helpful. Is it going to take your testosterone from 180 up to 800? Definitely not, David. It's gonna support it to some extent, but that's just one piece of a much bigger picture, obviously.
Yeah, I take all that stuff now, but I'm not on ADT yet. I know it's coming.
Okay.
Looking forward to it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and that's I'm not here to treat your prostate cancer. Obviously, that's not the purpose of our discussion today. But this comes up a lot, and I'm gonna give you a story that I think was really powerful to me. I was at one of the anti-aging meetings last year in Dallas, and one of the experts in this field told a story of a gentleman with prostate cancer. He was a urologist, and he had a patient who had been treated for prostate cancer for many years, and he had been treated with androgen deprivation therapy in the past. And he was miserable. And he was, by the way, he was 92 years old. And this gentleman was miserable. And he came in with his family. And he said very clearly, look, I don't want to live. This is such a shitty quality of life. I don't want to live. If I can't have testosterone, there's no point in living here because I don't get to enjoy anything. And so with informed consent, he was put on testosterone therapy. It was his wish. It was consented. Risks were thoroughly explained. And the guy lived an amazing 9 more months of life before he passed. But his family sent this doctor a letter thanking him for the gift of life that he gave them, because those last 9 months were better than the previous 10 years because he got to actually live his life. And so that's where I think it's just important to recognize there's a balance between treating disease, treating cancer, and actually improving quality of life so that you can actually live whatever life you have left.
That's a good question.
Doctor, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
How does medical marijuana, CBD and THC fit into the goals of your program?
So CBD is great. The endocannabinoid system in our bodies is very important and has a lot of broad effects. And CBD is very helpful for many people. Some people don't respond to it. Some people do great. So I think it's individualized for sure. When it comes to THC, I've seen a lot of men on THC who have markedly diminished testosterone levels. And it is great at sedating, at helping you fall asleep, but you often don't get the good quality sleep. You don't ever get to that deep stage of sleep that we need. You know, you go from REM to light sleep, light non-REM to deep non-REM and back up. That deep stage is so important. And whenever you use THC or sedatives, you'll lose that deep quality of sleep. So that's why a lot of times you wake up feeling non-restored, because you didn't get the good quality of sleep. And so I am, short answer, I support CBD, THC. I would try to avoid if you can. I know for some people, they need it for pain issues, et cetera.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Doctor, from what I understand about THC and CBD working together, CBD being the more beneficial for you, but you actually need a small amount of the THC in order to have it's like a rider for the CBDs to work. So we may not be getting a psychoactive effect, but it does help in supporting the pathways for the CBD to be most effective.
So you're, and I'm sorry, is David, is it you speaking?
Oh, it's John.
John. Okay. Yeah. So my understanding is that any CBD for it to be commercially available, it has to have under a certain threshold of THC. And so it has to be below a very minuscule, and I don't want to misquote that, whatever that percent is, but it has to be below a very, very low threshold for it to be allowed to be put on the shelf. And so I don't believe that minuscule amount of THC is adding any benefit. I think CBD itself has some amazing, miraculous qualities to it in and of itself, separate from THC. Does THC add to it? I'm not going to disagree with you. I don't know the answer to that, but I know that most CBD products cannot have detectable THC in it.
Yeah, they can't have it in just because it's over the counter sales, but the receptors do somehow need a rider, as that's what they call it, to allow the CBD to work at its most effectiveness. That's been my study.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't have to be to the degree where you're being mentally affected by it, but it does have to be sometimes above that minimum threshold that they allow in the selling of these commercial products.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Yes, Doctor, my name is Jerry. I'm on active surveillance right now, and I'm interested in your comments about testosterone. I go to the gym and work out quite regularly, watch my weight, and generally live a healthy lifestyle. I was interested, and I don't know if I'm correct thinking, but looking to do something to increase testosterone. And I'm being uneducated about the field, I was wondering whether these supplements that they talk about in the stores, I don't think it's actually increasing the testosterone. Maybe it's something else that they say has that same beneficial effect. Do you have any comments about that? Supplements?
Yes, I would save your money.
Oh, very good. Quick and dirty, very good.
Yeah, most of them are garbage. Yeah. Now, if you look at the ingredients, a lot of them, the ingredients are zinc and magnesium and selenium and B vitamins, where you can get those on your own. You don't need to spend $50 a bottle for that kind of stuff. So, so most of them I would say are garbage, and there's not a lot of science behind any of those being able to really significantly raise testosterone. They may have other qualitative benefits, but objectively raising testosterone, the data is really not there.
You earlier seemed to mention that some of the things to increase testosterone, which are legitimate, are things like improving your sleep, which you've talked about, and your nutrition and exercise and so on.
Right.
So wouldn't that be the most likely approach to take?
Great question. For some men, absolutely. For a lot of men, you're going to get, you're not going to get the results you're looking for. And let me explain that. So most of the men I see, and I see guys come in, they're 42 years old and they have a testosterone of 240. Okay. Your total testosterone should be around 1,000 to get that to that free testosterone of 200 that I talked about earlier. And so guys come in, their total is 240, their free is maybe 30, and that shows you how far off they are from where they need to be. So a guy like that with a free of 30, if I want to get his free testosterone up to 200 where he needs to be, if we were to just employ these natural maneuvers like we're talking about, what I have found over 20 years is that change is going to go from, a change of 30 up to 65, 58, something like that, maybe 70 if you're lucky. But again, if we're trying to get them up to 200, unfortunately, the natural maneuvers are not very effective at making that substantial of a change.
Okay.
I have another question. I'm 80 years old. I know you talk about some of the, or you're mentioning some of the younger men. Obviously, when I was that young age, I was in a total different situation or condition what I am today. I'm still I consider myself a very healthy, very physically fit individual, except with obviously I happen to draw the card that I had got prostate cancer. But what would vitamin D? What kind of benefit would be a vitamin D? Like 1,000 units.
Yeah, vitamin D is critically important. That's one of those key metrics that I mentioned that is so vital for us. It's underappreciated. You want to have a vitamin D level between 60 and 80, and the supplementation required to get that varies for each individual. Living in Florida very rarely gets you to that level. People always say, I'm in Florida, I'm around the sun, I'm fine. Almost every man I see is deficient unless they supplement. And vitamin D receptor genetics are at play there, which explains why some men need more supplementation than others. But really important when it comes to energy, metabolism, bone health, muscle health, so many different other functions. Vitamin D is really important.
Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Dr. Gapin, when we come for this visit with you for the fee that you mentioned, does that include the testing that you've been talking about?
Great question. That does not include the testing. We can, if you decide to work with me moving forward, we have different test packages depending on what you're looking for. And so I don't treat every man the same. And this is really a big key that, traditional medicine, here's your standard lab test. For me, it's about what labs do you need, what are right for you, and every guy's different. And I'm going to, as Arnold just brought up, I'm going to treat a 40-year-old guy very different than an 80-year-old guy. And so the answer to your question is no, that's the consultation where, again, we're going to spend 45 minutes to an hour typically going through. There's so much to talk about before you even get to your lab results. And that's separate.
Understood, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Would you recommend bringing Dr. Gapin to a consultation like that? Would you recommend bringing lab results that maybe you can give a guideline to?
Sure. Yes. So if you've had lab work done, you can absolutely bring that with you and we'll review that. And I can give you some thoughts on that lab work for sure. Definitely. Yep.
What would be the critical range of the lab work that you would need to look at?
What's the what? I'm sorry.
The lab work, what specifically would you want us to include if we brought our lab work in with us?
What lab tests?
Yeah,
I mean, I do a whole panel, but I would say if you've already had lab work, just bring what you have and I'll take a look at it and try to discern what's valuable, what's not. But I couldn't tell you right here the specific labs to get, because when I work with guys, I may get 200, 250 different lab tests, depending on what you need.
I mean, not like a blood panel, I mean.
The blood, that's what I'm talking about, the blood panel. Yeah.
All right, but that would come as a result of your consultation, really.
Correct. Yeah. So whatever you've had done, bring it and I'll take a look at it. And then I'll recommend, additional testing that we might do, depending on your needs.
One more question.
Yeah.
In Costco, there's something called vital proteins. And in that vital proteins, it's a powder, it's peptides. Is that what we're talking about when you're mentioning peptides?
Yeah, great question. No, that's like collagen peptides. That's just simply a bunch of amino acids in no specific sequence. So think of like alphabet soup. Bunch of letters just randomly kind of mixed together in there with no discernible pattern. Peptide therapy is where it's a prescription that is made by a compounding pharmacy who can specifically synthesize peptides. And these peptides can help with things like telling your brain to make more growth hormone or musculoskeletal repair. Like I had elbow tendonitis, had elbow surgery back in March, and then I had tendonitis afterwards. And I used injectable peptides right there near the joint to help recovery. There are peptides that are specifically for improving gut health and reducing gut inflammation, immune function, cognitive function, memory, mood issues, sleep, sexual function, libido, weight loss. Like it's amazing. Almost anything that you're trying to achieve, there are very precise peptides that have a very unique sequence, a very unique amino acid combination that will give you those results. Okay.
I appreciate it because mentioning the peptides, I'm taking those peptides at Costco, the collagen peptides, that's what it is. But I've been putting it in a plastic bottle and drinking it. So
Yeah. So that stuff isn't bad. It's helpful when it comes to hair, skin, and nails.
right.
But that's not going to give you the precise outcomes we're talking about. Yeah.
One more question, doctor.
Yes, sir.
I went through prostate cancer therapy about 11 years ago, and that's fine. This early fall, I developed a new issue in my life, first kidney stone in my life, and I ended up having to have surgery to remove it because it was 6 millimeters. Do you have any expertise in diet to prevent recurrent kidney stones?
Yeah, I spent 24 years in urology dealing with kidney stones every day. So it was something that I'm glad that I no longer have to go to the ER in the middle of the night to deal with those anymore in my career. But yes, so in general, hydration is massively important, and probably the most important thing you can do, Ralph, is a gallon of water of intake every day. A gallon, and that's non-negotiable. Every day has got to be a gallon of water. What I used to do myself is I would carry around from, Publix, you can get, I think it's like 69 cents for a gallon of water, and you can use that and just keep refilling it, with filtered water every day, so that you're instantly measuring it and knowing where you are each day. But water is the key. And then alkalinization, meaning opposite of acid, alkalinizing your urine is really helpful for stone prevention. And so you can do that with baking soda. You can do it with apple cider vinegar. Those are great ways of alkalizing the urine. We used to prescribe potassium citrate because that'd be really helpful for that as well. That's a prescription micronutrient support. Lemonade is the best thing you could do. So just take fresh lemon and squeeze in your water every day. When you go to the restaurant, ask for a bunch of lemon, squeeze it in there every single day. That's gonna be helpful for you as well.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Calcium is not a risk. Sodium is a risk. So I would limit table salt as much as you can.
I've heard that nuts are really bad.
Certain nuts, well, so this comes to oxalate. So if you have a problem with oxalates, then nuts and chocolate and strawberries, et cetera, may be, causing a problem. Most people, it's not oxalate though.
Mine, the stone, they did an analysis on the stone. I was out of state when it happened. It was calcium oxalate.
Yeah, so most stones are calcium oxalate, but 90% of people with calcium oxalate stones, it's not because of high oxalate in your diet and you're able to excrete in your gut. And so there is testing that we can do to figure out if that's your problem. But long story short, moderation of that stuff is the key. But I don't think that's the big deal for you.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Well, guys, it's 3 o'clock and I have to say, I think Dr. Gapin's presented us with an awful lot of material. We'll probably be talking about it long after we end this meeting, but thank you, Dr. Gapin, for a great presentation. We look forward to more contact with you.
You got it. Happy to join you guys and happy holidays, Merry Christmas, happy Hanukkah to you guys today.
Yeah, same
well.
to you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
All right,
Yeah.
take care. Be well, everyone. I appreciate
Yeah.
the opportunity to speak with you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
Have a good day. Thank you, guys. Call me if there's anything on your mind after a presentation full of information. My God,
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, Dave, you and your family have a happy holiday too.
You as well, Arno. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We'll catch you all
Well,
next. By the way,
yeah.
we're going to try to do a little bit of follow-up on what Dr. Gapin talked about today in terms of how we best as individuals deal with some of these things and what's the best approach for each one of us. Everybody has a different need and a different requirement and a different method of going about it. So we're going to talk a little bit about that next month, January 3rd, Monday. We'll see everybody then, or some anyway. Okay. Have a great day.
Okay,
Happy
thank you.
holidays. Thank
Merry
you.
Christmas.
Hey, is that your dog from there?